So, first I'd like to introduce Chief Papa. Our first panelist has over 36 years of law enforcement experience. Since 2013, she's served as the Chief of Police of Hermosa Beach. Chief Sharon Papa comes to the Beach Cities by way of the Los Angeles Police Department, where she was the Assistant Commanding Officer of the Valley Bureau. Prior to that, she served as the Chief of Police for the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, where she built a relatively obscure police force into the 10th largest law enforcement agency in California. She led the Police Officers Association of Los Angeles County as president and executive board member, and is now fully engaged in leading the community in policing strategies in Hermosa Beach. Chief Papa has taken on an active role in implementing efforts to reduce the negative impact of alcohol consumption on our young people. Thank you for being here tonight. She's been an advocate, and it's wonderful to have her. Our second panelist is Officer Chris Alcaides. Officer Chris Alcaides has been a law enforcement officer for 18 years, including 15 years in Hermosa Beach. During his career, Officer Alcaides has worked various assignments in the jail system, patrols, and investigations. He's a field training officer and frequently works as an acting watch commander for the department. For 5 years, Officer Alcaides was on the Joint Regional Task Force investigating high-level narcotic trafficking and fugitive apprehension. He's also worked as community lead officer in Hermosa Beach Pier Plaza and the surrounding areas. Officer Alcaides has worked with youth by serving as a DARE officer, instructing local youth about the dangers of gateway drugs. He's presented on the risks of social media to local students, parents, and nurses at Torrance Memorial Hospital. Officer Alcaides resides with his wife and his 6-year-old in the South Bay area, and he volunteers locally as a coach to youth sports. He's very dedicated to the community. Please welcome Officer Alcaides. And finally, on this expert panel, we have Dr. Donnie Watson. Dr. Donnie Watson is the program director of the Thelma McMillan Center for Alcohol and Drug Treatment. He is an expert in evidence-based substance abuse prevention and treatment strategies and has written over 50 publications on the subject. Prior to working at the Thelma McMillan, Dr. Watson served as the senior principal investigator at UCLA's Integrative Substance Abuse Program and directed the Cork Institute on Alcohol and Drug Abuse for the Morehouse School of Medicine. He received his doctorate from Vanderbilt University and is with us tonight to discuss the neurological aspects of underage drinking. Please welcome Dr. Watson. So if we can have the panel come up and sit at the table and very carefully. I know. Well, okay, so, and I tested it first for you, for your safety. So notice how these, do not let your chair legs go in the cracks. Got it. You'll know I didn't keep that if I did. You'll, yeah.
So as our speakers take their seats, I just wanted to let you know that Rhonda and Derek both said this already, but the video that you saw, the reason that we held it private until tonight is because it's the premiere, but as soon as after tonight, you will be able to see that online and we will be spreading it through social media. Then eventually, our speakers that are here tonight, we are going to be adding in their part as well, and then we will be giving some takeaways for a future date. So here we go. We only have 3 more.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I know Dorothy already said that, but the first step in educating anybody is having that desire to know. You know, in watching that video, I actually was at Dorothy's house when they conducted one of the reality parties, and it was probably one of the most powerful things that I've seen. And I have been around in this business a long time, 36. I'm working on my 37th year in law enforcement, so I've seen a lot. And I've seen a lot of programs and a lot of intervention techniques to try and get people's attention. And I have to tell you, that's probably one of the best I've seen. And it's not an exaggeration, because I had some parents say, oh, come on, this is over the top. That's really not what goes on at parties. And sadly, it really is. And I don't know, because of the configuration of the room, if you could actually read what some of the wording was on the bottom of the screen, because, you know, a lot of sexual assaults happen when people have had too much to drink. The ability for the guy to make the right choice, the ability for the girl to give the right answer. And what you may not have been able to read on that screen is the boy that's involved has to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life. So those are serious consequences, and the girl who is the victim Whether or not she gave consent, whether she was aware of what she did, social media destroys lives. And that's obviously going to be a topic that, the good officer sitting next to me is going to cover. It's changed the type of pressure that you're under, the reputation. It's no longer gossip among a small circle in a school. It's out there for everyone to know about. The parents that think it's okay, I'm not here to preach to anybody how to parent your kids, but I've heard too many times that it's a rite of passage, kids are gonna do it anyway, I'd rather have them do it at home, and I know where they are, and I'll take everybody's car keys. That doesn't work. You're not there to be their friend, to be the cool mom or the cool dad, because that's usually what it is. You don't want to take that role of the parent. And you're not there to be their friend, and kids do want rules. And I know those of you that are in the counseling business and do this, you know that. They want boundaries, they want rules. It actually helps them with peer pressure. And I know in a prior year, I think I may have shared this story. I don't have my own kids, but I raised my goddaughter. And she made a comment. They went to a party one night, and I had to go because all her friends got drunk, and she knew enough not to get in the car with them. So she called me out there. I go out there, everybody was drunk, but she wasn't. And I asked her later why, and she said, if you weren't you, you'd be afraid of you. And so that little bit of fear is important, because some of the other moms, they were too close to their daughters, sharing clothes, getting hair, getting makeup, wanting to be the friend, not wanting to be the parent, not wanting to put their foot down. And so my husband tells me that sometimes too now, because he thought that was a great line, But I'm telling you that it's good for your kids to be a little bit afraid of you. You're the parent. So you're not their friend. And, sadly in law enforcement, I'm used to being the bad guy because people always look at us. By the time we get there, something's gone terribly wrong. So I'm always happy when we can participate in an event like this and be part of the education and prevention component, because we want to be there. If anything we know can help people, if something that we've seen will make you think twice or make your kids think twice, that's where we want to be. Because usually with the carrot and the stick, we're always the stick. But we want to be part of the front end of all of this. So you've got a lot of speakers tonight that have a lot to say. I really came here as a resource for you if you have questions. Our mayor already talked about the social host ordinance, because I did want to mention that one of the first people that approached me, the first organizations, was Behavioral Health Services when I first got here, to educate me about the level of drinking in the South Bay. And I have to tell you, when I think of at-risk kids in Los Angeles County, you don't think about South Bay. And so when I saw the statistics for the underage drinking and how much higher it is here than anywhere else in the county, that opened my eyes. Despite all the years experience I had, I never really thought about it. And I started to wonder, why is that? Is that just because of access? Is that just because, we've got a party atmosphere here in Hermosa? We've got that reputation. Hermosa's a party town, and we think that's cool, and that kind of translates to our kids thinking it's cool, and I don't know. And so I've been here a couple years now trying to wrap my arms around that, and it's a huge challenge, and it's not one that law enforcement can solve, and we don't want to solve it. We don't want your kids to ruin their lives for stupid mistakes. You need to intervene, and we're here to partner with you. So I'm going to pass the microphone to Officer Alcites, because he's going to talk to you about what happens with social media now and the danger that also poses for your kids. So, Chris.
Thank you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get up from here. And I'm going to go down there. You're good, you're good. Just don't move. Don't move. I'm not a social media expert per se. I don't know a lot about the apps or the development into them or the code that you have to write to get these things to work. I know a little bit more about social media than the average person does, because I used to have a business in computer graphics and design. So I've done stuff that way back when AOL was the cool thing to do, and talk in the chat rooms in there. So I've been part of the computer generation and grown up with social media. Growing up, I shouldn't say growing up, but watching it grow up. And now I have a 6-year-old who wants to start his own YouTube channel. So about how to play, what's that game? Minecraft, thank you. Yeah, it's bizarre. Anyhow, so I know a lot of people come up with a lot of questions when I do presentations like this. You can just hold that for the end. I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. And if I can't, I will get back to you with that answer. So, real quick, top 10 reasons why we use social media. Stay in touch. Stay up to date with the news and current events. Spare time. Find funny and entertaining comment. Right now, we're sharing our opinions a lot because of all the political climate that's going on right now with the presidential elections. We like to share photos and videos with others. All this other stuff that you know, these are the things that we do on social media. Those are the reasons. We go back to when we were kids, right? And we used to go across the street and ask Johnny to come out to play. We played until the dark or the street lights came on. Parents back then had minimal concern about their children's safety, and if they needed to have their kids check in frequently, they came home for lunch. Kids were exposed to just the neighborhood people. Nowadays, the parents set play dates weeks in advance. I know that because I do that. Kids play video games inside. We spend a lot of hours doing that. They're told everyone is a stranger. And they all have smartphones now, right? And instead of just the neighborhood strangers or the neighborhood people being in close proximity, now they're connected through the internet, electronic devices, and they're exposed to millions of people worldwide. And we allow it to happen. As parents, we need to know the online dangers of social media. I should preface this presentation, I should have said this earlier. There's words and stuff in here that may be uncomfortable, so just bear with me. It's all adults in here, right? No kids? All right. You know, we all know that viewing pornography for a child at an early age can alter their perception, especially if it's video content. You know, we think back to Johnny, not Johnny up here, Johnny, the previous slide. No, I saw some people looking up here going, is that Johnny up there? Johnny used to be able to find the Playboy magazine, you know, in Dad's dresser drawer. Yeah, this is one of those childhood moments that every boy remembers. Now, that doesn't exist. Now it's all online. And you can see the stats there of 1 in every 8 web searches is for erotic content, okay? The big thing is before the age of 18, 83% of boys, 57% of girls have seen group sex online. Do you think that, especially for the boys, can change their perception of things that are okay to do? Sexting. This is the big thing. It's obviously sexting is sending or receiving nude or partially nude photos or videos through the internet. 1 in 5 teens have seen it. 1 in 5 teens have sexted it with somebody else. 20% of teens have posted a nude or semi-nude image. These are the 20% that are admitting this. And of those sent sex, 76% of girls and 50% of guys sent it to get someone else to like them. And the thing about it is when you sext, I will get it, and then guess what? I'm going to show it to you and to you. And I might print it out, or I might post it to another site. So that photo is not something that disappears. We're going to talk more about that with some of the apps that the kids use. You can see we have a couple of penal codes that does make it a crime to knowingly send, transport, produce, or possess, duplicate any child pornography with the intent to distribute it. Remember that the person who takes a picture of themselves, who is under age of 18, and then sends it, can be guilty of child pornography by sending that, and the receiver who keeps it and looks at it, doesn't delete it, can also be convicted of child pornography. So both sides. Cyberbullying, big problem. You know, this year, we haven't had a big problem at our schools. At least it hasn't been drawn to our attention. But the last couple years prior to this year, there were problems, and we did have a lot of kids that were involved in sexting, a lot of kids that were involved in being victims of bullying. They have a new strict policy. It's mandated by the California Education Code that they have to have a strict policy on what is acceptable and what is not, and it looks like it's working, at least locally. We all remember bullying. We were either victims or we were the bullies at some point in our lives on the playground. You know, you're a horrible handball player and they used to make fun of your dress, or I couldn't throw a football and, you know, my hair looked like an afro. It actually did when I was a kid, and I used to get bullied about that. But the great thing was, as soon as the 3 o'clock bell rang, we left and the bullying was over. It stopped. Nowadays, it's all digital. Social media has created a format where somebody can say something about you in a negative light, whatever it may be, can send a picture of you in an embarrassing post, can make up rumors, lies, whatever. And it doesn't end right there. Because if it's on a chat room, an app, a forum, a blog, a tweet, other people see it. And guess what? Other people get to comment on it. And it exponentially grows. And so it doesn't stop. It continues and continues and continues. And guess what? That is a permanent record. That stuff doesn't get deleted. Somewhere it's in a server. It can always be brought up. You do a Google search and you look hard enough, you can always find that information, that message that was sent by a 5th grader about you on the playground can come back to haunt you later in life in a visual format, not just the audio of hearing on the playground. So we do have some penal code sections in California that do address this, not specifically for cyberbullying, but the use of electronic devices to harass anybody does carry into cyberbullying. Does it have to go that far? We haven't had an issue in Hermosa that I can think of that we've had to do that. A lot of times the schools are able to relieve the problem, and it gets addressed that way. So if your child is ever a victim of cyberbullying, let the school know immediately. Another problem online, predators. Who wants, if you're a predator, who wants to go in their white panel van down the street to the park and check out the kids? That's passé, okay? They could sit in their underwear, or they can go to their local Starbucks and use the computer to log on to whatever site they want to and prey on the teens they want to, or the kids they want to. What they're trying to do is they're trying to groom these kids by telling them nice things. You're beautiful. You're smart. They're trying to establish a rapport with these kids because a lot of these kids have their own issues. They just want to be liked. They want to be accepted. Okay? And a lot of times these predators disguise themselves as somebody else. So, you know, you have a 15-year-old girl who gets approached by a 36-year-old male online who's pretending to be 18 years old and is so sweet, so nice, and he says all the nice things. He loves me and cares about me, and let's set up a date and meet. It happens. You can see the statistics about the age and the approximate age of how much older they are than their victims.
Chris, I don't think they can read the numbers.
76% of predators are 26 or older. Can you guys read that or no? Yeah? Okay. 47% of the offenders are 20 years older than their victims, and 83% of victims who meet their offender face-to-face willingly went somewhere with them. That's the scary part. And we'll talk just briefly more about that in a sec. Some more statistics. Over 80% of teens use a cell phone regularly. I think that number is slightly lower for a smartphone. Girls are somewhat more likely than boys to be involved in cyberbullying. They're more likely to be the bullies and more likely to be bullied. Around half of the teens have been victims of cyberbullying. If you have a chance to talk to your kids and they have access to any social media app, ask them if they have or not, or if they've seen it. I guarantee you that most of them say they have at least seen it. The problem though is, did they then participate in it? Seeing it and not doing anything about it allows that cyberbullying to continue, and so you're assisting in that process. 1 in 10 teens tell their parents if they've been a cyberbully victim. About 1 in 5 teens have posted or sent sexually suggestive or nude pictures of themselves to others. That's kind of scary, knowing that photo is going to be around forever. 78% of teens take actions to hide their online actions and their smartphone activity from their parents. How do they connect to social media? Obviously the laptop. It's not the number one way anymore. Smart TVs. You can see the Facebook and the Twitter logo there. The more popular these other apps I'm going to talk about in a sec become, the more probable that they will become apps on smart TVs. Your gaming systems. A lot of people don't recognize these as access to social media. Well, when we say social media, a lot of kids get on their gaming system and they can check in like Xbox Live, they can sign in. And what do? They play games against other people. Those other people are from around the world on the same Xbox Live account, and a lot of times the kids have headphones, right, when they play these games. And so you as a parent, you see your child there with the headphones and he's enjoying himself, and you hear him talking every now and again, but you don't know what he's listening to or she's listening to. And part of it is just the action of the game. Other parts of it are the voices from the people they're playing with. Big time problem with the gaming systems. This is where a lot of kids are falling prey to then meet their predator on a different app platform. The tablets, even the e-readers have access to some forms of social media access. Obviously the smartphones. This is the number one way that teens connect. Now the wearable devices, this in itself, you can't connect to the internet just yet, but with this device only. You have to have a smartphone attached with it, but I've seen rumors that that's going to change soon, so you got to keep an eye on that. And you can see the little green icon down here. It's a chatting app. I would assume that you could pre-program responses through that watch to continue your conversation online without anybody knowing about it. Some of the popular media apps used by teens. Raise your hand if you've heard this app, Kick. It is a free texting app. You can send photos. It's now got an integrated web browser. So if you have a phone or tablet or an iPod device, and you've set your parental settings so that they can't access the internet, they can download this and then access that content through the integrated web browser. These kids like this app because parents can't read the messages, because you can also password encode these apps. So you have to break the password for the phone or the device and then get into the Kick app, which has also got a password. It's free to use, and you can't track how many text messages they are sending. It's unlimited. Yik Yak. Show of hands? Okay. A lot of people are calling this the most dangerous form of social media ever seen. It's the ultimate tool for bullies. It allows people to use the GPS in their phones to anonymously chat with people in the surrounding area. Okay? This app is particularly used, it was developed and used primarily on college campuses. Oops. You can see one of the yaks, they're called yaks. I'm going to everyone in the Penn State. So that's a specific threat. You know, some of these threats are nonsense, but what if they're not? They have to react to them. And so a lot of threats, a lot of cyberbullying on this particular app. Maricosta had, in 2014, a yak sent that had to close the school campus. And this had nothing to do with the recent spate at the beginning of the school year, so we've been through that. WhatsApp. This is a popular with teens. They love this one. It's a big problem because predators can get on there and through other social media, and they direct them to this app because it's, you have to have this app. You can't monitor your kids' actions on this app unless you actually look at their phone on here. So this is a dangerous app for teens. Instagram, we all use Instagram, I think. But the problem though is a lot of these kids, especially girls, are posting their photos, selfies, and they're trying to get rated as hot or not. Okay, that's the latest thing going on with teens in Instagram. Snapchat, known as the sexting app. Okay, a lot of people send nude photos through this app because they promoted the app as the message will disappear within 1 to 10 seconds. What doesn't? It actually buries itself deep into the operating system of that phone. And just with a little access to it, you can always find that. It doesn't prevent you from screenshotting it too. Tumblr, it's a cross between a blog and a Twitter. But the thing you can do on here is access a lot of images and topics that glorify dangerous habits. Ask FM. This one was another problem for cyberbullies, and basically you can get on here, ask any question, and anybody can answer it with anything they want. This company, Ask FM, was just bought out by Ask.com, and you can see the transition of their logo. They're also going to attempt to put a lid on the bullying and that type of action. So it's still something to be checked on. You've got to follow up on that if your kids are using that. Facebook. Kids are turning away from Facebook. Why are they turning away from Facebook? You guys are our friends. Yeah. Yep. Facebook can be dangerous because photos that you get tagged in, if your geotagging is on, you can review that stuff with software. But you got to remember that 70% of kids who are new, especially new to this, they'll accept people as friends even if they don't know them. So you got to monitor that. Vine. Okay, these are 7 seconds, 6 seconds. I've seen so many different numbers on this. They're silly. They're on a loop, but they're meant to be fun. But they have some inappropriate videos. And parents, you can be a star on this app. You just didn't know it when your kids are taking videos of you while you're snoring. The big thing now, live streaming video apps. YouNow, Periscope, and now Facebook has a portion of that. Lets you stream video. Just last week, New York Times headline. Dangerous stuff. Other apps. There's a couple. There's a lot, and there's more being generated every day. And the apps that you get to know, they're being modified daily as well. So you got to stay on top of this because your kids are. Tips, we're almost done here. Know your child's passwords to all their online accounts. I know that sounds creepy, but you need to know that. Okay, what happens if Johnny misses school and he sets a date to meet somebody else? Okay, guess what? If you have his iCloud app or if you have his Messenger app, you can go to the website versions of all these, input that information, and you can find out what's going on. Maybe save your child. Don't let any of your kids sleep with their electronic devices. You think they're just sleeping next to them and they're going to be the alarm clocks? Be a good role model. If you say 10 minutes on the internet, don't you be doing 15 minutes. Parental settings on electronic devices, they all have them. Take a look at them, review them. You can restrict a lot of things. Have a tech talk with your kids. Tell them. What you send is a permanent record. If you don't want to say anything that you'd be ashamed your grandma would see, don't send it at all. Keep strict time limits on the internet. When at home, have your child use the internet in your presence. Remind them to never give out personal information to anyone for any reason at any time. We already talked about that. Keep an open dialogue and always do your research on this stuff because it's ever changing. That's my contact information. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I can answer a lot of things for you. Any questions we'll take later after the next panelist. Thank you.